Rand Paul, who probably more than anybody had some pretty tough back and forths with the nominee, has just come out, was talking to reporters. Here's some of what he said.
We have an agreement now to go over to a classified hearing and hear about his classified mission that, hasn't been fully detailed to anyone. If that goes as planned and is forthcoming, I still plan on having the vote tomorrow.
Chairman, are you planning on voting for this nominee?
I think there are anger issues. I think there's a lack of contrition, both about the violence that was perpetrated on me, really the violent episode he was involved in the Senate committee where he's told the media, frankly, that he doesn't regret it. He's also told the media he said it again today, that there's historical precedent for violence, that caning and dueling happened all the time. And I pointed out, well, it was illegal 170, 200 years ago. They would actually flee and they would do it in areas they could find where the law didn't reach. Sometimes they would actually go to Canada. Sometimes they'd go from one state to the other. But the mass of civilized response, even in the 1850s or 1830s, was against dueling. That's why dueling was made illegal. The fact that he can't bring himself to say that, really we shouldn't settle political questions with violence, I think that would be a terrible example for ICE and for our Border Patrol agents. We're in the midst, I think, of a crisis where there needs to be more direction from the top. And a guy who brawls, a guy who can't even say he's sorry about, wishing violence on me and really applauding the attack that happened on me, can't come to say that. I don't know how he could, from my point of view, be a leader of ICE or Border Patrol.
So that's
are you saying you're no senator?
Kevin McCarthy was out here saying that's passion. Fetterman was out here saying have a shorter memory, effectively. How does that make you feel that colleagues of yours are saying brush it off?
But I still remember lying in bed, not being able to get up, having to have a rope tied to my bed to try to pull myself up. I had 3 ribs that were completely snapped in half. So the ribs rubbed on each other for 3 months. My lung was damaged such that they had to remove a part of it. I coughed up blood for a year. So, no, I don't think highly of people who think that that's okay. And really, this is sort of a low-bar question. You would think that a nominee would come forward and say, I was angry at you over that vote because I put on the internet what the vote was. I didn't single them out, but I put a list of the Republicans who voted to continue the refugee welfare program, which I thought on the heels of the fraud in Minnesota was, from my perspective, a bad vote. He wasn't singled out. His vote was just listed. He became angry at that, and he responded by saying, oh, yeah, everybody hates him. This is why he deserved to be attacked. But many people don't know how severely I was injured through this and how much I suffered for years. I barely could walk for months and months and months on this. So, no, without an apology, even with this, even with him knowing it was going to come up, couldn't get an apology. His idea is that we have political differences. But political differences don't mean I wish harm. Gary Peters and I have political differences. We don't agree on a lot of things. I would never wish him harm. If he were attacked, I would send my condolences and send flowers. I wouldn't say, oh, that's great, and think it's funny that someone was attacked. So, no, I don't think that kind of person sends the right message to ICE agents who the country at large has said, well, gosh, is there a proper use of force going on, or do we have to have more rules with our agents so we don't have tragic killings of citizens? And I don't know how we get that from a guy who says he'll jump over the dais and people deserve to be punched in the mouth. And really, caning and dueling is a good example for the modern Congress.
Did you block Senator Britt from doing the introduction for Senator Mullen this morning?
Everybody that applied for everything, I've been probably more conciliatory towards this hearing, even with my misgivings, than anybody ever in the history of Congress. This is the fastest nomination ever done for the Department of Homeland Security. This is also going to be the fastest vote for the Department of Homeland Security, despite my misgivings. Anybody that wanted to do an introduction, the deadline was several days ago. So we heard from Senator Langford, and we had no quibbles with that. Anybody that didn't meet the deadline didn't get to introduce.
Classified trip that he
Say again?
What questions do you have about that classified trip he said he took?
Well, I mean, I'm one of these people who think that we silo off too much information from the public. We classify everything, but then here they super classify it. Only 8 people get to know. So often when we're going to war, they tell 8 people. It's like, oh, we've notified Congress. So I don't think that is adequate. Do you remember when the waterboarding was going on, and they said, well, we notified 8 people. Half of them couldn't remember that they'd been notified, and none of the rest of us were, and that's not sufficient. There is nothing in the Constitution about electing 8 people. There's nothing in the Constitution about siloing us off. So no, I think that we ought to hear about it. It may be innocent, but it makes people curious when you say, oh, I'm doing secret missions for somebody, but I won't tell you who, and only 4 people in the world know about this. You know, so hopefully the briefing will. I'm going to do one more.
Just to be clear, can you get to yes?
Have any of your Republican colleagues expressed to you privately that they are having reservations about Senator Mullen?
I suspect the Republican side, other than me, will be fairly unified.
Is there anything that you could get you to guess?
Do you believe this was a genuine classified trip the senator took?
I have no idea. So we'll find out here in a few minutes.
Did you warn the White House about your
Are
opposition
you going
in
now,
advance?
Senator?